Thank you for that. Anybody else have a question about the broadcasters? That's right. Oh, yes, sir.
I guess it's mostly for Neil, but all three of you guys. What's it like when you're coming to a deadline, making the trading deadlines coming up, when you're signing for the free agents? What's it? Could you tell us what's it like? You're sitting in a room with like 100 phones around you, answering all these phones. What's it all like in that room the last couple hours before things are coming up?
Well, I'll let Neil take the bulk of this question, but I'll tell you what my wife said to me the other day when we had the deadline. The deadline for the drafted players is 12:01, so the midnight deadline. And my wife said, "Why do you guys set a midnight deadline so you have to stay up all night and do the deal at midnight when you could just set a deadline at 4 o'clock?" And in point of fact, the deadline for the trading deadline on July 31 used to be midnight. And we finally got smart back in the commissioner's office about 8 years ago and said, why do we stay up to midnight? The games are being played during the day. Why don't we say 4 o'clock, then the deals get done right before 4 o'clock. Now it'll be interesting, I think next year it's a Sunday, so the games will be going on, actually. Most of the games will be going on. But there's no reason for us to stay up until midnight. Fortunately, this year, we didn't have to do that, as we got the players signed well before midnight, although not well before the last day of the deadline. But Neil will tell you, it is, at least here in this organization, it's a large room, and there's a lot of activity.
And hopefully next trading deadline we won't be all that impacted because we'll be adding players, and we'll just have to wait for them to arrive in Pittsburgh instead of departing. The trade deadline, the signing deadline, a lot of people want to feel like it's frantic and people are running around everywhere and you've got chaos in the room. When the reality is we've done so much legwork leading up to the day that it happens. We've gone through every trade scenario in our minds, and we've worked through it with the Dodgers or with Club X or Club Y or Club Z. What are the scenarios? And we've pressed them out, and we're looking at big whiteboards with we would take this deal first, the second deal in line is with the Phillies, so to speak, the third deal in line is with the Cubs, the fourth deal in line is with the Padres, and we just work systematically down through the process. A lot of no's along the way. Occasionally we get a yes that surprises us, but a lot of no's along the way, and we just keep working through the process. And we hope to capitalize on other people's emotions. We hope to capitalize on other people's sense of desperation. And once this is reversed, we hope to be in that same situation where they've got a veteran player that they want to move, they don't want to get stuck with, so they panic and give them to us for less than they might realize. In the reverse of that, right now we're trying to play the card of we don't have to trade this player because we don't. And the fact that we don't have to trade a player allows us to say no and allows us to hold on to a player or wait until we get the right deal. So there is a lot of activity, there's a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversation. It always cracks me up when I read player X was discussed. Well, absolutely. We discuss hundreds of players every single week, every single day, every single month in scenarios, and of course they're discussed. That doesn't mean they're ever going to be involved in a trade, but it's a great process. It's a great process for our young guys to go through as they learn, and hopefully they become future general managers. But it's a test of our scouts and the information that they've provided us with, a test of our organizational ability to look at our individual organizations and our depth charts and our prospect lists and our pref lists of the ones we want, and then work down systematically until we get a yes. And then sometimes we don't, and sometimes we hold a player.
And just to add, I think that from my perspective, that's a different approach than Pittsburgh has seen at some points in the past. The level of preparation, the level of detail, use the draft as an example, which is that same kind of an approach. There's not a lot of frantic guesswork because the preparation, the board has been set for days ahead of time with adjustments, but the underlying frantic call of, does anybody know anything about this kid that Pittsburgh may have seen in the past is taken out of play because the organizational process structure, you hear these guys say those words, but it really makes a huge impact when it comes down to getting real value out of a trade. And we don't need value, we need impact players. And being able to find real impact players is something that, again, I'll use the draft as an example. Being extraordinarily well prepared is what allowed that 52nd pick to go to Alley without hesitation. That wasn't a frantic call, that was, I can't believe he's here, take it.
In the back, sir, has been patient, I believe.